Okay, let's think about a scenario, maybe something, you've actually run into yourself. You create something important, a document, could be a contract draft, maybe a design, a report. It's all digital.
Mm-hmm.
Then, I don't know, weeks, maybe months later, you find you need to prove, like really prove,
Mm-hmm.
that that specific document existed at a very specific time.
Yeah.
How do you even do that?
Yeah, it sounds simple, doesn't it? But it's actually pretty tricky in the world we live in now, this digital first world. The old ways, they don't always cut it.
Totally. And that challenge, that's exactly what we're diving into today. We're looking at some source material you brought in, an article by T.J. Newberry. It's called I Just Wrote This, Proving a Document Existed Without a Notary.
Right.
So our mission really is to unpack this whole problem of proving digital documents existed and, explore the specific solution that this article talks about.
And the article, it makes a really strong point early on. It says, look, notaries, they're still super important, right? For verifying who someone is, watching them sign something in person, but they weren't really set up to confirm when a digital file was first made or when it first existed in that exact form. That's a different problem.
And it goes beyond that too, doesn't it? The source mentions they're just not scalable, not for online businesses handling loads of documents.
Exactly.
And they don't really mesh with modern ways of working, APIs automatically doing things, remote teams everywhere, needing proof sort of instantly in the background.
That's it, precisely. And finding a digital fix is getting, well, more urgent. The source points to some pretty worrying trends in document fraud. It cites this Inscribe 2025 report, and get this, a 50% jump
Wow.
in fake document templates,
Yeah.
just in 1 year.
Wait, fake templates. So it's not just altering existing files. People are using sophisticated, like, ready-made fakes.
You got it. And the same report found that 59%, almost 60% of all the fraud they detected involved fake bank statements.
That's huge.
It is. So when it's getting that easy to just fake something or change it, being able to prove, like, definitively the legitimacy and the timing of your stuff, your work, your agreements, that becomes critical. If you can't prove it was real and existed, then, well, you're kind of exposed.
Okay, so if the traditional notary isn't quite the answer for this specific digital proof problem, what's the alternative the article gets into?
This is where it brings in blockchain timestamping. And it's positioned carefully, not like it replaces notaries entirely, but it complements them. It offers something built for digital stuff, scalable, and really inherently tamper-proof.
Blockchain. Okay, right. Now, the source brings up a specific tool for this, VerifyFirst.
Yes, that's the one the author actually developed. And according to the article, using it sounds pretty straightforward for the user. You basically just timestamp your file.
Simple enough.
But what's happening kind of under the hood is the interesting part. It takes your file, creates a unique digital fingerprint that's called a hash, and then it anchors that hash, that fingerprint, onto the Bitcoin blockchain, anchoring it to Bitcoin. Why is that the key part for proving something?
Good question, because that's the core of it, really. The source explains that by putting the hash, not the document itself, just the fingerprint, onto something like the Bitcoin blockchain, which is designed to be immutable, unchangeable and distributed everywhere.
Right.
You create what they call cryptographic proof. It's not just a date stamped on your file, which someone might alter later.
Ah, okay.
By embedding its unique fingerprint onto this incredibly secure, time-stamped public record, you get verifiable evidence. Proof that this exact file with this fingerprint existed at that exact moment and hasn't been messed with since. And crucially, your actual document stays private. Only the hash goes on the chain.
That privacy part is definitely key. So, okay, let's connect this back. What does this mean for you listening in who needs this kind of thing? Well, the source is pretty clear. It's really for anyone who needs to say, hey, I had this first, or protect their original creative work, or just lock down important digital agreements. So, if you run a business, if you're a creator, a freelancer, producing original content, maybe even as a legal field dealing with digital evidence, having that solid proof of existence, of integrity, that's really powerful.
And the article actually puts an offer out there for listeners like you, right? Something about 3 months free.
Yeah, that's right. For businesses or creators who are willing to mention the tool, maybe give some feedback on it, seems like a practical way to get this technology into people's hands who could really use it.
Okay, so let's pull this together then. We started with that challenge. How do you prove a digital document existed and hasn't been tampered with, especially with fraud rising and everything moving online? We look at the solution the source presents. using blockchain timestamping. The example was VerifyFirst, creating that scalable, tamper-proof cryptographic proof by anchoring a file's hash to the Bitcoin blockchain. It validates when it existed and that it's unchanged.
It really boils down to creating undeniable trust around the timeline of digital things, establishing that digital truth, you could say.
Absolutely. Which leaves us with maybe a bigger thought to chew on. If this kind of robust, verifiable proof of existence, proof of integrity becomes fundamental for digital assets,